All right, welcome to the show, all you fresh cut podcasters. We are back after a 1 week delay. Got you caught up with all the AFC and NFC division winners and the rankings of each. Getting really pumped up. Got a little bit of golf on. Got some preseason football and some little league baseball going on, which is keeping everybody interested. And on the subject of little league, little personal thing to the Fresh Cuts podcast and the Long Beach Barbershop. One of our own, Mr. Walker Jenkins, has gotten the big call to the big leagues today. He's going to the Minnesota Twins to help that team. They are in a playoff race. And as you can see right here at the barbershop, Mr. Walker, we couldn't be more proud of him. Right, Cody?
Yeah, this is a huge honor for the barbershop, but also for the community. Southport, Oak Island, everybody's a huge supporter of him, and we're so happy that he is now living his dream in the big leagues, and we wish him nothing but success and hope he just comes in and just grand slam home run. I mean, come on now, let's go.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And again, I think we will be having a show here soon where we're highlighting, his talents because he's the real deal. So anyway, back to the show. Cody and I, one of the things we love to do is get your bankroll up in whatever betting site you use and get in on the NFL superlatives. Some of them aren't that difficult if you really think about it, and the odds are always plus money. So you want to get it in there because it gives you something to kind of watch the whole season. And we'll give you a couple little tips on where we go when we're betting on these things and so on. So, Cody, I'm going to lead it off, and I'll tell you who I think, and maybe we'll go over a couple other options. But the first one I wanted to start off is with the MVP. And you don't have to be on a podcast to know that since 2012, it's going to be a quarterback. So they may as well just have their own award. But I would not go out on a limb this year and think that you're going to be able to get, some running back or wide receiver that's going to win it. So I personally think one of these quarterbacks that's in the top 4 or 5 betting odds has a lot to prove this year. He's been hurt, but he's always been put in that upper echelon. And I think if he doesn't perform well this year, people are going to start rumbling just a little bit. And that player is Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow, with all those weapons, finally assured up a little bit better defense. I think at plus 850, Joe Burrow, third best odds, wins MVP this year. Cody?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great prediction. We have seen Joe Burrow when having a full healthy year. He's phenomenal. I mean, literally, he beats Patrick Mahomes. He beats Josh Allen. He's the best quarterback in the AFC, and he's been to a Super Bowl before. And so, whenever we see a healthy Joe Burrow and everybody else stays healthy, he usually has a phenomenal season. So that is a great prediction. I am also going with another quarterback who has just as good wide receivers, and this is a little bit of a stretch. So if you really want some good odds, you can come follow me. But I am going Dak Prescott. I just think if this division, I think in the NFC, you look at the other quarterbacks in the NFC, you look at, of course, Matthew Stafford. He did win the MVP last year. He had a great season last year. But I don't really see anybody I'm looking at the list right here. Got Caleb Williams in the NFC. I don't know about that. Brock Purdy, I don't know about that. And so if you look at it and you stack it up in the NFC, it's between him and Matthew Stafford in the NFC. And so I really expect Dallas, if to, like I said, we're all predicting all this in the beginning of the season, hoping everybody stays healthy, a healthy CeeDee Lamb, a healthy George Pickens. That defense has gotten a lot better. So hopefully more possessions for the Dallas Cowboys. And I mean, we're talking about Dak Prescott that had over 4,500 yards passing last year, and that was without CD for a lot of games. And I mean, 30 touchdowns, easy. It was easy 30 touchdowns, and so I expect him to have even better numbers, maybe even close to 4,800 passing yards, maybe close to 40 touchdowns. And so I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm going with Dak Prescott.
No, I couldn't agree. Dak was actually my number two on this. I mean, Josh Allen's going to have a great season, but they don't usually, they're not going to give it to him again. And Patrick Mahomes is up there. I think we may talk about him later on in the show, but I don't think he's quite qualified. And as you and I have spoken, I believe we're in agreement that's the best wide receiver combo in the league, right? Dallas?
Yeah, I agree. Especially how George Pickens played last year.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, moving on. We are going to move to offensive player of the year. And just like I said about the MVP, you may want to focus on a non-quarterback because they like to give the flowers to somebody else, obviously. Last year it was Jahmyr Gibbs. If you had him in fantasy, good on you. He is the number one guy again this year. I always like to stay away from those offensive, all these superlatives in back-to-back years. The only way Gibbs is going to get it is if he does like a 2,000-yard rushing thing or something like that where you have to give it to him. I think if it's a coin flip like it was with Lamar and Josh with the MVP race, they're going to give it to the person who didn't get it most recently, which I don't agree with. So this one took me a little while to pick, Cody. I don't love this pick because I'm not the biggest fan of the team, but I think of all the rumblings that's been coming out of Philadelphia and all of the strife that he had for the Giants, he just puts his head down and he is an absolute stud, and he is Saquon Barkley. These are big time long shot odds. He's at plus 2,000. But I think his hair's on fire. They lost a weapon on the outside. Lemon's okay, but already starting with a little bit of injury, and he's no A.J. Brown. So I think they're going to rely on the running game. And now they don't have A.J. Brown complaining about getting the ball, and they're going to go back to what they're really good at with that stud offensive line. And I like Saquon here, but serious long shot here. Do not bet the farm on it whatsoever, but at plus 2,000, you throw $20 on it, and it is what it is.
Yeah, and when you look at these odds for all these teams and all these players, think in consideration of team success. The reason that me and Weston are probably not so high on Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson is because they had great years last year, but the Falcons finished third in the NFC South, and the Detroit Lions finished last in the NFC North. And so usually when they give out awards like this, it also has to depend on team success too. And so that's why West went with the Eagles right there, because the Eagles are back-to-back NFC East champions. They make it in the playoffs every single year. And so your odds are higher when they're in the playoffs, when they're having a good season to win an award like that. And so I like to pick, like I said, usually with running backs like that, like Christian McCaffrey, we always talk about Christian McCaffrey, always like up, down like that. And we can see that same thing for Saquon this year on coming back up. So I like that pick. Talking about team success, like I was talking about, we all have been hearing about the Los Angeles Rams and how they are the Super Bowl favorites. And whenever I look at the Rams, you look at Matthew Stafford winning the MVP last year and maybe being one of the biggest favorites to go back to back again. You got to go with his number one target and Puka Nakua right here. I like Puka right here. I told Wes this a couple weeks ago. Puka's always been a guy that I've said like I'm not going to take him in fantasy until he proves me wrong. And I say it every year, and every year he proves me wrong. And so if it happens this year, I'm going to take him. He's a stud. He always gets like 20 catches a game. He always gets about 2 touchdowns. It's crazy. He reminds me just like the guy who was the man in L.A. in Cooper Cup, now with the Seahawks. He reminds me of Cooper Cup, and so maybe he can have a Cooper Cup type season and try to go for the Triple Crown this year. And if he does that, he will definitely win the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, maybe a 2,000 yard season to beat his boy out, Cooper. All right, two good picks. I definitely got to say Cody's a lot safer pick with Puka, but there's two options, and again, some reasons why we go with that. Defensive Player of the Year. Again, you don't like to go back-to-back years, but I'm going with Will Anderson Jr. this year. I think he is going to just have his hair on fire. They're going to need him. Already have a big loss on offense. I know they made a big trade this week. Cody, help me out. Who did they? Booty, right? The Texans. But
Yeah, Keyshawn Booty,
yeah,
from New England.
yeah, they're going to rely on that defense, and I think Will Anderson just going to take it to the next level. We've been seeing these photos surfacing of this guy with no pads on, and he's built in a lab. That's all there is to it. So I think he shows up. There's already some good players on defense, and so I like Will Anderson short odds at plus 700, just behind Myles Garrett.
Yeah, we everybody knows that me and Weston are clearly huge Panthers fans. Panthers just had a joint practice with the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans got like 7, 8 sacks on us in the joint practices on yesterday. And so I heard Will Anderson's name a lot in that practice, and this
Man,
guy's a freaking nature. And so I'm also going Will Anderson Jr. And so if me and West are both going for it, I think you should go for it too. I think this guy is the next big thing. I think we've seen TJ Watt, we've seen Aaron Donald, we've seen Myles Garrett. This guy is the next big time defensive player. He's still super young, and I think he will. Last year he had 12 sacks. I don't know if he's going to break the record, but I could definitely see him getting around 18, 19 sacks this year.
yeah, well, unlike some of those other guys you mentioned, you can pull him off the line if you really wanted to. He could be an outside linebacker, a little bit more versatile, more of like a Micah type deal. But yeah, good call there, Cody. That's pretty good. Plus 700. So $10, $70. That's an easy bet, and it gives you something to watch the whole year. This is one of my favorites to do, the rookies of the year for the offense. They usually aren't that difficult to pick, and I think this year is again one of those years. I don't have anything sexy to say other than Jeremiah Love is going to be inserted right into a team that doesn't have a ton of weapons, and I think he is the most talented player of all of the people. Maybe Carnell Tate, but I really like Jeremiah Love. I think he'll get over 1,200 yards this year, no problem.
Yeah, I mean Jeremiah Love is by far he's running away as a clear favorite in this class, in this rookie class. A lot has to depend on if Mendoza plays or not. You know how they love to give it to a quarterback. Since West went with the sure, almost a sure thing, and I would also go with a sure thing too. Let me give everybody out there a far reach, If you want to just maybe, like you said, throw a little bit on it to see if you get a huge payback. I told West about. I went with this in the preseason whenever he just got drafted, and I thought it was the perfect situation for him. And I'm going Makai Lemon, Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver. He's going to be inserted right away as a number 2 wide receiver in this offense. Hopefully, with a new offensive coordinator and Sean Mannion with Jalen Hurts. With Devontae Smith being the number one, he's going to have the number one quarterbacks on him now. The safeties are going to be rolling coverage over to Devontae Smith now. And so I really like Mekhi Lemon right there in the slot, right there on that island with the number two cornerbacks. And so I think that he can be that kind of Amon St. Brown type of guy for the Philadelphia Eagles. And hopefully, you can see some red zone targets for him. If you're looking for a wide receiver, I would definitely go Mekhi Lemon. I don't know about Carnell Tate. I like Carnell Tate in Tennessee. Just don't quite trust that offense in Tennessee. And then Jordan Tyson, who's with the New Orleans Saints, has a hamstring injury, which is going to be out for the first 2 to 3 months maybe. And so that's why I like Mekhi Lemon.
Yeah, yeah. He's not a huge. I'm not a huge fan of his, I guess I should say. But yeah, plus 1,500. Uh, Jeremiah Love at plus 550. You got some other ones. Mendoza, like Cody said, if you're one of those people that thinks that Mendoza is going to take over right away, that's a surefire bet, because unlike these other players that we mentioned, he's going to touch the ball every single time they snap it. So look out for that, and that's something that you can kind of do on your own. Do you think Kirk is no go, or maybe and we never wish this, but maybe a small injury comes up, and then Mendoza is going to be in there. So something to think about. Lemon on a high-powered, good team. Jeremiah Love on a crappy team. So two ways of approaching that there. Moving on to the defensive rookie of the year. This one is not easy to pick, FYI, unless you get something like a Myles Garrett, comes in, or somebody who's just, now there were a lot of really good defensive players that came in, but that doesn't make it any easier. So I really like one of these players. I think this is who Cody's going to take. I think I heard him mention it, but I actually got to thinking, and I'm going to move to somebody who's going to be on the field a lot. And again, this isn't a big stretch, but David Bailey. I think he's going to have like 500 tackles probably, because the Jets are always going to be on defense. I think Aaron Glenn, they don't have a ton of weapons. They're going to really lean on defensive schemes and things like that, and maybe get a few sacks out of him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he dropped back and caught an interception or something like that. So I like David Bailey coming into a poor Jets team that's going to be on defense a lot, and squeaking out the defensive rookie over who you may think.
I am not going David Bailey. I am going. Man, I guess I'm just turning into
No,
I need to move to Texas or something like
yeah,
that.
do it.
So I'm going Caleb Downs here. I thought he was the biggest defensive player coming into the draft, and when it fell to the Cowboys, I thought it was just a perfect match made in heaven. This defense is going to be really improved. The pass rush is going to be really improved with Quentin Williams. They just signed Von Miller. They got Rashawn Gary up there, Kenny Clark on that defensive line. So getting after the pressure, maybe that quarterback, whoever they play against, will be under pressure. Maybe throw some interceptions. I really like Caleb Downs. He's been playing a little bit of a nickel cornerback too. He's just so versatile, so smart, being in the right position at the right time. And I just think, golly, a stud like that for Dallas. We see Michael Parsons, just be a superstar right away. I can see Caleb Downs being that same superstar right away.
Yep. He was number two, and I really like him. He might end up being the best player at his position. I just think it's a little bit more difficult for a safety to shine through than it is for maybe a cornerback or a linebacker or an edge rusher when it comes to these awards. Sometimes safeties do certain things that really aren't, noticed, kind of like an offensive lineman. So that was the only kind of push that I had against Caleb in this situation. But I really like Caleb Downs at plus 700, David Bailey at plus 500. I think those are two really good options for everybody if you want to hedge them. Moving on, this one this one is kind of middle of the road. I don't love coach of the year because there's really no formula for it. Like, if like Cody and I were talking about, if Puka Nakua gets 2,000 yards, just sign it up. So there's kind of a benchmark that you can have. You don't have to make the playoffs. You don't have to be a first time coach. So there's all kinds of things that go into it. And I think that they put the odds kind of funky. But piggybacking off Cody, I guess we're both going to have to move to Texas because I got a long shot here. I got Brian Schottenheimer, and kind of what Cody has already talked about. I don't know if you've noticed all of these names that we've listed so far, and I know that the big thing is that Dallas always, pisses into the wind, but at some point, they put together a great roster here, and I think they're all getting along right now. And I like Brian Schottenheimer at plus 1,500. And I wouldn't be too shy to bet, 25, $40 on this.
Wes, you're making my MVP pick look even better with that coach of the year. Because if he's coach of the year, then Dak's got to be doing good, right?
Well, if Dak wins MVP, then yeah, you can probably count on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, that would be something, man. I tell you what, a good Dallas successful season, man. ESPN would be unreal. You wouldn't hear nothing else about any other team. Um, my coach of the year, like I said, I gotta go off a successful team here. Um, I I just think that if especially if you get Aaron Donald back, you get Miles Garrett going. This team could go, lose one or two games this year if they're really rolling. They stay healthy. I gotta go with Sean McVay here. I just think that he's just a phenomenal coach, and so they're the favorites right now to win the Super Bowl. If you're number one seed in NFC, and you get to that, get to the end, we saw Mike Vrabel win Coach of the Year last year. So I'm going to go Sean McVay here.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Definitely maybe the best coach in the league. I'm not sure, but what are his odds? Wow, I don't even see his odds on here. What is Sean McVay's odds? Wow, I don't. Oh, plus 4,000. There's only seven coaches. That's insane. I tell you right now, um, dude, go ahead and bet $10 on that because like we just said, he's of all of the coaches ahead of him, he's better than every coach on there. They don't necessarily give the award to the best coach though, and so that's why it's kind of hard. But I love that long shot pick right there. High powered offense, and he's going to get all the credit for it. So yeah, another good option. Good call there, Cody. All right, so this one right here is probably the easiest of all of them to pick year in and year out. And again, this year is no exception, in my opinion. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes. The odds are only plus 185, but go ahead and hammer it. Unless he gets injured again, he will win Comeback Player of the Year. All he's got to do is lead them to the playoffs, throw for 4,000 yards, and look somewhat like Patrick Mahomes, and they will hand him the trophy. I will give you one that you do not want to pick. Aaron Donald is on here. Do not pick Aaron Donald to be Comeback Player of the Year. This would be a great thing to clip and put in my face if it actually happens. But I don't even know if he's going to play, first off, and he won't even be the best defensive player on the line that he plays on. So avoid that. And one little sneaky pick that I'll say in addition to Patrick Mahomes, because that one is so easy, I don't like just doing that, is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, if he's healthy, and now he's got, not that Larry Fitzgerald wasn't a stud, but Jefferson is in his prime. They've got several other weapons there. I think Jordan Mason comes alive, and him and Mason will be like a little tandem. And if Kyler Murray gets back to where he was first or second year with Arizona. Look out. I'm surprised that they put him in comeback player of the year, but they have at plus 600. So another option there. Cody, where are you at?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Patrick Mahomes is a lock right here. He's going to be on prime time pretty much every week. And I mean, they start off with a Monday night game against the Broncos. If he goes out there and throws 3 touchdowns, people are going to, I mean, this is going to go from plus 175, plus 200 to like minus 250. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, uh, I think that's a sure thing. I'm also like Wes. If you want a little bit more of a reach, a little bit more better, a little bit more, upper odds. I like Malik Neighbors for the Giants. I think if he can have, he's number one guy for the Giants. If he can have a really good year, maybe over 1,000 yards receiving, maybe 8 to 9 touchdowns, with that type of media presence that New York Giants get, being right there in the big apple. If Malik Neighbors has a really good season, he will definitely be nominated for the award.
Yep. Yep. I like that pick. You're absolutely right. And just to put it in perspective of how much they think, Neighbors is the fifth player and Donald is ahead of him. That's not going to happen. And Scattaboo, who's everybody's darling, is way below, twice the odds of Neighbors. So I like that pick right there. Again, Cody and I think we're both on the same page with Pat Mahomes. That's a nice sure bet at plus 185. But if you want a little bit more juice, try one of those other players. So that concludes all of the superlatives for the show. You only have a limited amount of time to go ahead and get your bankroll up, get those things in there. Everybody's fantasy football draft is coming up, which I know that's exciting. So stay tuned. Cody and I will have another show before the season starts. And I think you're going to want to tune in because it's going to give you some insight to the season.
Hold on, Wes. Let's go into overtime of the show. Well,
Okay.
I know
All
I
right.
know I'm surprising you with this, so I'm
All
gonna
right.
take over the show right now. This is overtime. We're gonna switch it to college football just for 1 second, and we got 2 games to pick from out there. 2 games to pick from. First game is TCU versus North Carolina out in Ireland. We need your prediction, Wes, for the people. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll go ahead and tell you the money line minus 355 for TCU does not sound good, but take Carolina plus 9.5. They only lose by a field goal in this game.
Wow,
Yep.
wow. Hey
Yep.
man, I look last year we did not see that close of a game. I hope we do see a close game this year. I am also leading TCU. Don't know if they covered the 9.5. That is a tough spread for the first game. But I am also leading TCU. I hope I'm wrong. And then moving to the second game, also staying in the state of North Carolina, the NC State Wolfpack goes up to Virginia for an ACC game against the Virginia Cavaliers. Wes, what is your pick this weekend?
Yeah, go ahead and take Virginia, and you can take the points at -4. They're going to beat NC State, and then we're going to have to hear the state crowd as we always do. But I'm cheering for state. You know, I'm always an in-state guy. But Cody, what are you going to do? You're gonna pick
Uh,
NC State just because I picked Virginia and go with your arch enemy?
my uncle is a diehard Miami Dolphins fan and a diehard NC State fan, and I can't do him twice. I already broke his heart with the Miami pick and going under of the 4.5 games, and so I can't break his heart again. So I'm going with the NC State Wolfpack here. I think they got the better quarterback of the two teams, and so I think CJ Bailey will be able to make more plays in this game, and I got NC State winning this weekend.
Yep, yep. I could definitely see that happen. And again, I'm pulling for him. So there you go. Free of charge, little bonus fresh cuts for everybody there. Again, hope you enjoyed the show. Shout out to Walker Jenkins. Could be more proud. And Cody, let's do it again next week.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it. Y'all, everybody have a good weekend.
All right. Peace out.